Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man, the myth, the man with the greatest flow around, Karl Bryan, number one in your hearts for sure. Ladies, he is a heartbreaker. Welcome to the podcast, Shoots.
Welcome, Shoots. There you go. That was quite the introduction. Heartbreaker. Dang.
Wow, with hair like that, like you've got going on right now, bud, I don't know how you are just breaking hearts when they find out you're married. Like, it's just,
I know.
it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Right.
And I'm sure the man bun is instant. Like, the girls must just all be knocking on the door and Tammy has to just bat them away. It is next level, Shoots.
It's a battle. It's that you're explaining the current challenge in my household. It's happening like crazy. We should probably frame this. So I was driving, and Road Dog was with his family on bikes, and I've been driving by, and apparently my flow, I don't know, maybe I was going quick, Shoots, and the flow, because I do have some flow right now. It is not impressive by any stretch of the imagination. According to my daughter, I should do nothing but stop and go directly to the nearest hair salon or barber or whatever or something. But anyway, so there you go. I got flow, Shoots. I got flow, but it's going to come off soon.
It is a sight to behold. So, anywho, listen, like we were talking earlier about, well, two things really. One was selling group coaching, which is always a hot topic. And the other was the Elon Musk business model. But can we sort of like get into that a little bit? Because I just think it's an interesting conversation that I think I'd like to kind of carry on, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Okay. So what we were talking about. So group coaching, I get asked all the time. Should I do one-to-one coaching or should I do group? Right? Again, kind of probably the wrong question. What you should do, and then I'll assume if you're asking me that you're not massively experienced in the business coaching / consulting world. What you need to do is you got to start with one-to-one until you're really good at it, like excellent as a standard and hopefully beyond. But start with one-to-one to increase your skills, get the experiences, the different dynamics again, so you'll be able to help the group at a higher level. Hopefully that's obvious. But anyway, start with one-to-one to gather up case studies, experiences, and skills, and then you move into group. Go from there. And then complementary to that, when you're first selling group coaching, you sell it using, your personal story, your offer, and how much you're going to sell them, right? But once you get some traction, and then when you want to we'll take it, let's call it the phase 2 and beyond, what you got to do is you sell it with your client stories, not your story. That's important, right? So you gotta make that transition. And often what you'll find is somebody continues to sell with their story, and then wonder why they get stuck. And I can pretty much tell you that is it. Actually, if you want another, in fact, I sent this out in a recent profit acceleration thing, like my daily email. Like here's like a hack, right? For selling, when you're selling to men, learn to describe the problem. Okay, again, describe the problem better than they can. And then when selling to women, learn to describe how they feel about the problem better than they can, and then just watch what happens. And you're going to find that you are going to be closing coaching, pretty quick, and I would dare say at higher price, and on the presumption that you are providing higher level of value because you're getting good at it, but you'll be able to do it in record time. And part of what that will help you do, and again, um, something I've sent out recently, but like if you want to close, okay, you could change that word maybe to influence, but if you want to close, the person must first be open, right? So you get that if you want to close, they need to be open. And then the question is, okay, like that kind of makes sense as a frame, right? How do you do it? And that would be like educate would be the higher level thought. Like that's why, like if I was going to sell one-to-one coaching with 1,000,000% certainty, I'd be doing, following our program, live event mastery. But I would be putting 10 business owners roughly in a room. I would be educating them, which would basically be showing them a lot of the things that they're doing wrong and some of the false, truths that they are currently operating by. Anyway, so I would educate them and then also asking open ended questions. And again, that would allow me to close because a lot of the time, again, you get these folks and they get stuck in maybe land and like you're following up, following up, following up, and then you become annoying and then they kind of ghost you a little bit because they just can't make that decision. Or they feel like, frankly, your positioning has been harmed by all of that. Hey, let's jump on a call. Hey, have you made a decision? And then they don't reply, and then you continue, and it kills your positioning. Anyway, so you'll do it in half the time. You gotta open them up before you can close them. Hopefully that helps. And Rhoda, we didn't quite talk about this, but like on the negative side of it, right? Well, actually, no. And also, pattern recognition is something else. Like when you like the pattern that I just described, when they don't say yes, what do they say? They very seldom say no. You ever notice that almost nobody ever says no, right? They just say maybe. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to speak to my wife. I'll get back to you next week, right? Um, the pattern recognition is that when they say maybe, do your math, right? And if you have 50 maybes, I would dare say you might have 1 to 10, like 1 to 10 sales, probably a lot closer to 1 than 10 people that actually close there. So you've got to do is you got to forego the maybe and then say, look, I get it, but I need it. Like I need an answer by this date. Call it Wednesday. And if you don't answer, I give you the answer for you and it's a no. And the reason, I don't want to, this isn't a hard close, but here's what it is. My best clients and the best business owners make hard decisions quickly. So if you're not somebody who's willing and able to make a hard decision quickly, then you're not going to be a good client. We are not going to get far. And then you're not going to be around for 3 or 4 years. And we're not going to be able to accomplish all those unbelievable things we just talked about. So respectfully, I'm going to give you till Wednesday at noon. I'm going to send you an email if I haven't heard from you at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you're going to need to give me an answer within 4 hours. And if I don't hear from you, that's okay. God bless you. Keep going. But we will not be working together. And that's the reason. So you see how the pattern recognition is when they say maybe it never closes, you waste your time, ruin your positioning, and then ruin opportunities for the future, for a referral partner, for a potential client, for whatever it is. So the pattern recognition behind that would be important. And then again, when you ask open-ended questions and then get them to talk, like let's say if you talk to Tony Robbins, I would dare say the conversation would be him speaking 5 to 20% of the conversation, and then you speaking the 80. Okay, because again, he knows that's how to influence you, and then he's gathering data and he's getting you to go deeper. Again, a lot of what he'd be doing is asking you open-ended questions to go deeper, deeper, deeper. So anyway, that what I want to bring across there is the ability, pattern recognition. Like again, football. There's in fact again an email that I sent out recently. I was just talking about the best business coaches are the ones that recognize patterns, and then they do it, mid-play, mid-game, halftime, or do they do it post-game? And a lot, they don't recognize the patterns early enough. And why? Because they're not looking for them. Whereas if you follow football at all, Bill Belichick, what debatably is the greatest coach of all time, his superpower would be pattern recognition. He's absolutely famous in football circles for his halftime adjustments. right? And believe me, he's making the adjustments long before halftime, but he makes some really impressive ones at halftime when he can have the guys for whatever, for 30 minutes and knock it over. So anyway, so just the pattern recognition, when we take a player in motion, this linebacker moves, and then all of a sudden that opens up a play at a specific area on the field, right? So anyways, hopefully you're getting that. But pattern recognition, you're not looking for the results and do they say yes, do they say maybe, do they say no. Look for the patterns that lead to that. And then Road Dog, maybe on like a negative, like when what does somebody say, like when they pay attention, right? And like, I don't know, those are words of somebody without a lot of experience. Like, maybe, a couple decades ago, that would have been like impressive, but it's just it's too one size fits all. Like, okay, so if that's the problem, if that doesn't really work, here's what I would encourage you to be thinking about. And again, remember, we're like group coaching. That's what Road Dog and I were talking about. Basically, how do you close group coaching? But it's not about how do you close group coaching. It's like, how do you influence someone so that they say yes to whatever you feel like is, your thing that's going to help them get to where they want to go, right? And think open loops and then close them, right? So when I first started talking to you, I could explain, explain to you that you need to commit to profit acceleration. And then I would say, if you double a penny, you've heard me say this before, right? If you double a penny for 31 days, what do you got? And then the answer is $10 million on day 31, $5 million on day 30, right? To the person, that might not blow your mind, but the average chiropractor, dentist, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, I'm going to tell you that you give them that example, and they're like, what do you mean? Like a penny doubled for 30 days is 5 million? That sounds, insane. And then you explain that like that's an example of profit acceleration. So then as I go through the areas of their business and profit acceleration software, or like just areas, like you want them to increasing their prices, lowering their costs on upsells, and explaining, those small incremental changes, the massive impact it can have on their revenues, and most importantly, their profits. Remember, we built profit acceleration software. We didn't build revenue acceleration software because, again, revenue feeds your ego and then profit feeds your family, is what they say. So each time I say to each time when I hit increasing their prices, lowering the cost, then upsell, I say, do you see the importance of profit acceleration here? And then I say, so are you committed to profit acceleration in your business and increasing your prices and lowering your costs, etc., right? And then at the end, we sell them. So it's profit acceleration. Are you committed? Do you see the impact? Profit acceleration. Are you committed? Do you see the impact? And they're like, yes, yes, yes. Then at the end, I sell them what? Profit acceleration roadmap, profit acceleration coach, profit acceleration game plan, profit acceleration experience, right? If you want a classic example of that, Tony Robbins, if you've ever been the very beginning, he talks about mastery and how it's 2% improvements. And he uses, I believe, a golfer as an example. Then he says, you got to commit to mastery. Are you committed to mastery? And then you say yes. The entire room says yes, right? And not only you saying yes, but everybody's saying yes. And now there's an element to social proof there, which makes it even stronger. And then he gets you to commit to mastery, commit to mastery. On day 3, what does he sell you? Mastery University, right? So it's like an open loop, and then it closes it with Mastery University. So anyway, so group coaching, Road Dog, where we started, like, again, when you're selling group coaching, first of all, I would encourage you to do one-to-one until you get the case studies, the experiences, and then you move into group. And then to sell it, those are some of the things that you should be thinking about, because there is no group coaching without 10 to 25 people in your group. That's what's critical. So, Road Dog, they do a good job there. Do you agree with that? Anything you'd add?
No, that makes complete sense. It's funny. I've never thought of that with the frame of Tony Robbins, of just the mastery thing, and then
Yeah.
using that more and more in your messaging. That's interesting. Making kind of rethink perhaps the frame of my my quote unquote sales closing call. So very, very interesting. And then incorporating that messaging into your advertising, right? It's like each step along the way. Anyways, I digress. You've got my mind in a bit of a rabbit hole. But speaking of rabbit holes and aliens, let's talk about our favorite alien, Elon Musk, and because we were talking about that as well. So can you just go into that a little bit? The Elon Musk, like the business model.
Yeah. So this one, this is new, but like as a frame, I was reading about one of the reasons that healthcare is so expensive, sorry, is it's got a misalignment of incentives, right? Like insurance companies will pay certain amounts for various, treatments, procedures, surgeries, etc. So it's a fee for service model. Therefore, the providers are financially rewarded, incentivized to perform as many services as possible, right? Like think surgeries. And the system ends up spending most of the money, on the latter side when it's debatably too late, when people have already got these chronic conditions or have ended up in the hospital, right? Where, and like where we are today, right? Which is bad on both fronts. They spend more and people are less healthy. Whereas we focused resources on making everybody healthier up front, surely it would be a better framework, a better, that would be a better model, right? The starting point. So if you were to look at that and agree with what I said, feel free to disagree, but I would debate anybody that would. The starting point is that healthcare is broken, right? So we spend too much money on managing diseases versus preventing them at the beginning, right? And we rarely optimize for performance. We're like, it's human and financial capital getting lit on fire, right? So that's a big problem to solve. That's the kind of starting point for Elon Musk, for him to look into something that he was going to enter, right? There's some other factors there, but I'm not going to go too deep there, right? But if Musk went into healthcare, he'd start at the soup. So the business model, okay, is that Musk would start at the super high end of the market and then use that to fund growth, and then importantly, quote unquote, collect data to accommodate the lower markets at phase two. Okay, but most would, if you look at 90, I'm going to say 8, but let's just say 90% of the business models out there, they do the exact opposite, where they start at the bottom and then work their way up, right? So like, how does Musk, so if you guys agree, let's just assume that you agree that healthcare is broken. Okay, so that's at the left, we're going to go left to right for a minute in terms of how Elon Musk is going to build a business model. And of course, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos talking about, I just believe that if you take the frame that I'm going to give you and then dummy it down, you're going to have a really, really, powerful frame guide roadmap to help your chiropractor or dentist coaching client, right? Okay, so on the left side, healthcare is broken, right? So then one step to the right there, you're going to sell a super high end. So let's say this would be a $50,000 coaching program, $100,000 coaching program. So we'll assume that $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year is kind of where you're at. So let's go 100 grand for the sake of the argument to make sure that we're at least 4xing that, right? So you're going to sell a high end health and performance product / service. Okay. That is going to be used for innovation. So one step further to the right is company innovation. Okay. Just think data, like internally, we are trying to collect as much data as we possibly can around coaching, around the coaching industry, et cetera. So that's what we're trying to do. So that data is going to help us with company innovation. That could be, developing software. Okay. One step to the right of that is what he calls a match that ignites an entire industry. Okay. Breathtaking, in my opinion, right? So he's looking for a match. I'd understand what it'd be like a match, right? So picture a fire, you throw some gasoline on it, nothing happens until you throw the match, and then the whole thing goes up, right? which leads to more industry innovation, because a match means lots of clients, lots of interest, lots of press, lots of people talking about it. Did I say lots of clients, which would mean lots of revenue as well? Not profits necessarily, because there could be some heavy expenses along the way. But that being said, so then that's going to lead, so industry innovation between the match, and then the next is the goal, right? Where again, most people start with the goal, by the way, right? We haven't even gotten the goal yet. So the goal is to optimize, um, just we want people to be more conscious about their health. Let's face it, what most people do is they wait until they get sick and then go to the doctor, right? I, that's asinine for anybody, right? To think that way. But is that the way you operate? And then the excuse and the story you give is that I'm busy and I've got kids and I've got a business and I've got this. I can't afford to go and, go get my blood checked, once a week. But again, I'll let you decide whether or not that is the right story for you, right? But the goal is for you to take your health more seriously. And when I'm not taking it seriously, I got to thinking again, implementation, going to the doctor is really important. Getting your blood test once a month, maybe once a week is like too aggressive, right? But once a month, um, the action, I want to talk about the actions, right? Not the conscious thought, but the actual action, right? And then the result of the goal um, would be, I don't know, like it's not like, I guess, a whole lot of data that would allow us to build better products, better innovation, etc. But like um, just working towards a health. Look, result of the goal would be a healthier city, state, country, civilization. Right? Okay, let's go with that. With the result of the goal. Now that's one. So have we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So now the sixth step to the right is increased chance. These are literally Elon Musk's words. Increased chance of a good future. Okay, which I don't know if that's impressively worded, but these are the words from Elon Musk's mouth, right? Increased chance of a good future. So like I want you to think of the things that he is working on. Like, is it, if you can get from LA to New York driving in a tunnel underneath, underneath, underneath the, like civilization. Is this a good thing? Cars that operate on, electric cars versus gasoline. Is that a better future? There's a debate to say it's a worse future short term, but I would debate you all day long that if we can get everybody using electric cars, then the carbon footprint will dramatically go down per car. And I think that provides a better future for everybody, right? But by the way, who cares what I think? Who cares what you think? That is what Elon Musk thinks, and that is the basis of his business plan. So, Road Dog, here was the thing that kind of stopped me, and it's like, what did I go? Healthcare is broken. Sell a high-end program that basically funds innovation, that leads to a match that ignites the industry, that provides a goal, right? Again, halfway through here, provides a goal that we're looking to. And then the result of the goal is something higher level. Like the goal could be like an individual level. Then the result of the goal is the entire city, the entire state, the entire country following suit. And then the increased chance of a good future is the final result, right? Well, what Elon Musk does is he starts on the right with increased chance of a good future, and then he goes back to the result, back to the goal, back to innovation, back to the match, back to innovation, back to the high end program, and then the healthcare, right, is broken. Um, so, two things. One, just going right to left is just like that, just opened my eyes. Like, I really needed to sit there and just like really think that through. Um, but maybe on chiropractor level, $2,000 a month coaching level, it's that he starts step number 2 of what I just described. Hopefully, maybe you get the chance to write that down. But it is a high end program that funds growth so that he can scale it. Right. So, like, so that a high end program. So, think of when Tesla the first car was that super sporty. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a super sporty, super expensive, cool looking car that looked a lot like a Lotus Elise, right? Well, that's where he started, and then down the like he's over time he has created a less and less and less expensive car. What most people do is the exact opposite of that, where they start low end and then move towards high end. He starts at high end, and the justification of that is the fun, innovation, growth, data, so then he can reach more people easily with like an app. And like in this example, it's like a super high end coaching program with scarcity, only limited to a certain amount of people. And again, but it's really high, like it's super expensive. Like, what do we say, $100,000 earlier? Well, how many people can afford $100,000 health coaching program? And the answer is that you're going to the 1% of the population, not only afford it, but would be willing to write the check. Right. And, but that allows them through, let's just say 1,000 people sign on, and you have to be pretty good at marketing in order to pull that off. But they use that to fund the growth towards the other. And Road Dog, you and I were talking earlier, and again, that would debatably be that he would start at a 40,000. Road Dog and I were talking earlier. We were talking on group and some stuff, but we had I think it was a $5,000 unit, which led to a $40,000 unit. He would start at the $40,000 unit and then move to the 5,000. For me, and again, understanding the $40,000 program would give him the funding and the data and the experience and the case studies and the stories in order to fund to go to the lower end folks. So that's the Elon Musk frame. And if you want example, like, so matches, so you're like, what's the match that ignited an industry? I just want you to think of the first time that you saw, I'm going to call it probably $150,000 Tesla. And it was electric. Okay. I would be amazed if you didn't go very much out of alpha mode and go into beta mode to say, like, what? And it doesn't take gas. But anyway, so that was the match that lit an industry. And again, proof is in the pudding, but that happened. And then the other one was like dramatic reduction in the cost of space travel. That's for SpaceX, right? Like, just remember the first time that you heard that, the average person was going to be jumping in a spaceship and heading to outer space, and Branson's working on it. Jeff Bezos is working on it. Elon Musk is working on it. But this is, again, if you think of the first time you heard that, there was a high level of interest where you had a lot of questions about it. Like, how does that happen? And how much would that cost? And who is going to go? And then you wanted to see the names of the people that were going to go. And then again, they talk, but that's super expensive right now, but they're using that so that the average person one day is going to be able to spend 10 grand and actually go up into space and come back. We used to go to, the Disneyland to go on the roller coaster. Now you're going to be jumping in a spaceship with your daughter and going to space for the day and then coming back. Like, how cool is that? But they start at the very, very high end and then come back. So, Road Dog, that's what we were talking about. And I think that has some, for me, and I'm very new, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm trying to go from right to left and get myself in Elon Musk's head to think about it and how does that work, and it's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. So there you go. How did I do? Did I explain that properly? Do you like it? Any thoughts, comments?
The thing with Elon that's interesting. By the way, I love it when you said $150,000 car. That's just electric. Literally, it was electric. But so there you go. You nailed it. The thing that's fascinating about Elon's approach, right? It's always like his entire goal was like to basically have a $30,000 electric car, but he knew he needed to fund it, and that's why he had this higher, like it was like 100 whatever 50 grand, right? But knowing that there was a market for that, those early adopters were going to buy that, which would then help him fund the research to be able to produce things cheaper and have the efficiencies in place that then he could do a $100,000 car. Then seven, you know what I mean? Like it's interesting. Do you see anything like that in coaching, by the way? Like, sort of an off the cuff sort of question here for you, but we always talk about you need to have a high end offer, but
Yep.
everyone's always pushing should people be looking to sell their high end program, or like, I don't know, what are your thoughts on
It's
around that?
Yeah. Okay. Road dog. This is where my brain's like an elastic goes. So this is what it would look like if you were a brand new coach. And by the way, take everything I'm going to say and you need to adjust it. You also need to be realistic. And am I Elon Musk? Is Road Dog Elon Musk? Are you Elon Musk? Like, I don't know if you're Elon Musk, but I most certainly am not pretending to be. But that being said, you'd be insane, in my opinion, to not look at the way he sees. And I just describe, like I said, that is his business model. Make no mistake about it. And you can, and again, so now it's his business model, but you just reverse engineer all of his businesses, and that's exactly what he did and is doing. So yes, this is what it would look like. You're a brand new coach, and instead of you want to have, because the problem with coaches, we see it all the time, right? Where you're a high end individual, and then they take on 3 clients at 10 grand a month, which is 30 grand a month and pretty good money by most people's standards for sure. And then what happens? They lose 1 client, they lose 2 clients, and they really, really feel it. And then what they say is, look, I want to have 20 clients at a lesser amount so that a little bit of leverage, and then I want to move from 20 to 200, right, which would equal group, which is what we talked about earlier. So but then I said again, you need to do 1-to-1 to get really good before you move into group. So what it could potentially look like is a brand new coach gets going and they go find 1 client that they work like they get their hands dirty and get really involved in the company. And again, let's just say you charge 10 grand a month, 120 grand a year, and actually show up, to the business and really understand it at a high level. So that then you go, okay, so now that you've got the understanding, what we'll call a case study, and you're really, really comfortable with it, you go to a similar business in a similar niche that you were going to be able to help them, but you're going to be able to help them at twice the speed with twice the effort because of that experience. You know what I mean? So you'd start with a lower amount of clients at a higher price, and then move towards, the 10 client model, and then the group model that I talked about earlier, where you've got, 10 to 50 clients in different groups, or maybe one group. Anyway, so that's Road Dog would be similar to the way it would be done. Yeah.
Okay, so what's interesting to me is just the mindset of the average coach. Is
Well,
all
sorry,
around.
Road Dog, can I jump in just one sec? Just one sec.
Yep. Yep.
So what? And it's not that this doesn't make sense, but how does the average business coach get going without experience? They start at $1,000 a month, 12 grand a year, so that they can, it's less intensity. Nobody gets hurt if it doesn't work out. It's 3 months into it. They've only spent 3 grand, a little bit of time on fire, but it wasn't that bad. And then they try get to, 10 clients, which is 120 grand a year, right? Like that. It's kind of just like that's common sense. But I tell you, if Elon Musk started in coaching and he was brand new and you followed the model that I just outlined, he would start with 1 client at 100 grand, for the 1 client, and then use that to innovate, understand, collect data, get good at it, and then move back from there, which I find mind-boggling.
Well, here's what's coming to me, and that is weak mindset. And it is, imagine how committed would you, like you were talking about the 100,000, let's use that number, right? Just for fun. Yeah. So if you're paying me $1,000 a month, how committed am I to getting you a result? I'm still going to get your result. If you're paying me 100 grand, how committed am I to becoming the best darn coach you've ever had and ever paid for? Like, I just think that's an interesting sort of mindset shift, right? Because if by charging more, now you are like, you're putting your butt on the line and you're going to have to deliver. So I just think your level of commitment is going to be that much greater.
Higher. Yeah. And the information by being more committed, you're going to learn more, which is ultimately, we could call that data, right? Like that. It's a very different mindset. I just starting high end to fund growth versus starting low end to fund high end solutions. Upside down, very different way of thinking.
Well,
So
and then the other flip side of it, because I've experienced this inside of my own agency, you don't charge people enough because you're just trying to bring on clients, right? Early days, like everybody.
Yep.
And then you get resentful. Like, oh man, like I'm not going to pay attention. You know what I mean? Like you're resentful for the amount of work that you're doing for the little fee that you charged. Of course they're going to agree to it. But it's interesting how you become resentful for charging too little at the end of the day when you just didn't price yourself high enough because you devalued yourself right out of the gates.
Yep.
So I just find that super fascinating. So anyways, but again, we are our own worst nightmare, right? We're always in our own path in terms of somehow there's this, little number that we feel comfortable with charging when really that is not the case. You could probably quite comfortably charge double of what you think you're worth, and just put in a little bit more effort and elbow grease, as they say, and get her done. So, anywho, that's my 2 cents. Listen, why don't you close us out with like what's one thing? I just think this mindset thing, because that's obviously like we were talking before. I got a big launch coming this week. And I'm stressed out. I'm doing my thing and I'm trying to be a perfectionist and everything else. So for me, my big thing is just mindset, know your worth, and just roll and have fun with it. But from everything you've talked about, what's one thing that those people listening can implement and start doing from today's podcast?
I think it's like, so again, you got to so I lit like this is days old, where I'm reading this. This is a very long, this is pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. And it's not just, So anyways, I challenge you to challenge yourself on what, it's all like mental models. Like the way that you think at a higher level is by using mental models. That's the hack. That's the secret, right? So I challenge everybody to just go and, I just challenge you to challenge what you think, like, what is it? It's things things you don't know, and things you don't know. Start looking for some things that you don't know, right? And taking automatic assumptions that you've had, and maybe turn them on their ear. And then ideally, though, what you should do, and what maybe something else, Road Dog, like it's like everybody's on their Facebook feed, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it is, TikTok, heaven forbid. And it's whatever, TikTok, maybe it's the best place ever. I don't know, right? Never been there. Actually, I have. I've been sent to video, but I do not have a TikTok account. Not getting one. Not happening. Maybe one day, but not happening. Like the way I did that, Road Dog. It's in case I end up on TikTok, and then it's like
you're going to end up there. Just you sound like me. My wife still mocks me because I'm never going on Facebook. Facebook's lame, and it's just like, and here we are. Anyways,
yeah. But I am only on Facebook, and I am happy there. But anyways, but more to the point, we're on our Facebook feed, or wherever the heck you are looking, and there's the new book, there's the new influencer, there's the new this, the new that, the new program, the new methodology, right? What I think you should do, and certainly consider, is make sure that you're going to the stuff that has stood the test of time, right? Like, the Jeff Bezoses, the Elon Musk, more to the point, the Warren Buffetts, the Charlie Mungers. And that being said, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, like some of their advice might be like something right now, like an NFT with utility, I believe has got an insane amount of power in the future, right? You're not going to find Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett talking about NFTs with utility nor Bitcoin. But that being said, what you would be able to do is take NFTs with utility and then use their decade old long advice to be able to bring it in, right? Or more to the point, again, use a mental model that would allow you and guide you um, to do X, Y, Z. Just do the right things in the right order. Um, so what am I saying? I just want to check like this, like again, over the weekend, last number of days, I have been reading something that kind of it just stopped me in my tracks. And I just thought, oh my gosh, something that I have thought for so long, according to Elon Musk, and whether we can all, can you go to the chiropractor and start with the Elon Musk model? The answer is maybe, and the answer possibly no might factor into it, or the dentist, right? Um, but and that's fine. But not knowing the way that Elon Musk would do it if he showed up is probably not a good idea, right? So just having that as a frame of reference to say, okay, I know that model. I know what Elon Musk is thinking. I know how Jeff Bezos is, because Jeff Bezos, by the way, does it exactly the opposite. Like Jeff Bezos has more money than the competition, and the way that he'll describe it, he takes them underwater, and he's got more oxygen, translation money, and willing to spend more money than they are. So in other words, he holds you underwater for longer until you give up, you say uncle, you quit, and then he wins, right? So and he forewent profit margins forever, or profits forever, to basically build market share, right? Um, so again, there's a debate, and is that the way that you should do it? The thing that you take from Jeff Bezos is that Jeff Bezos thinks in 10-year time blocks, and Elon Musk, in a different way with a different model, is doing the exact same thing, right? But I don't know, Road Dogg, what am I saying? Just challenge your understanding of what you think is right, purposeful, and the roadmap. Certainly, I will tell you this: going to an old school business plan, and writing it out the way that the bank would insist you do it, so that you could get the $50,000, $100,000 loan, is most certainly not the roadmap that I would be following. But like when I was saying earlier, you know, like sales principles, some of them have changed, and to say that if somebody pays, they pay attention, like it's kind of just people that say that, and that it's in some cases true. In other, I could give you an example of our own company where that is just categorically incorrect. But that being said, it's very gray, but understanding the different frameworks and understanding the different methodologies would be a good idea. But what I wouldn't want you to do is to follow the new book from the new influencer who's new to the whole thing, who stumbled upon something that's really cool. Like maybe an example of that, Road Dogg. It's Jeff Walker, who, by the way, I think is a fabulous guy and got good stuff, right? But he had this product launch formula, which, by the way, I think has got insane. Some of it's really, really good the way that he's got it framed. But the problem with it is, like, do you really want to build your company running launch after launch after launch? That just sounds categorically stupid to me, right? Like I have had the same offer for since 2008. That's like 14 years as I talk today. You know what I mean? And by the way, the offer has changed and it's adjusted. We've had this, we've put different things in. We've developed software, about whatever number 8 years ago, we started with the software, been working with it with our clients, and that has dramatically changed our offer. But not really. It's just the same offer. We still, turned everybody to an author in 30 days. We train them on how to find 100 grand in 45 minutes without spending a dollar on marketing or advertising. Now we use software to do it as opposed to, think like a spreadsheet. Anyway, so you know what I mean? We changed it, but product launch formula would be a new book when it came out, would be a new book, a new concept, a new program from a new influencer. And it might be the perfect thing for you. And maybe you want to run a business like a realtor where you do promotion after promotion after promotion after promotion. Um, but I would dare say that is hell on earth, possibly. If that is backed up with a program underlying that stands the test of time and is, something that you've always had, and then you just reinforce it, or you do like like a client influx using product launch formula to bring them into your ongoing recurring thing, well, then that would be different. But that's not part of product launch formula. And that's not, but again, Jeff Walker, great guy, great program, everything, right? But I just wouldn't build a business on running. Do you have a promotion or do you have a business? Do you have recurring revenue I was sitting with a young guy literally this weekend, may or may not be my oldest daughter's boyfriend. And just he's, talking about business ideas. And I just said, show me the recurring income. And if there's recurring income, it was good. So we just went through some different models. And then I threw it to him a couple of times. It was kind of funny because my daughter's listening in, including my 9-year-old daughter who kept answering the damn questions because she's been through it all before. And I said, stop, right? I need him to give me the answers. But it just came back to, basically, high profit margins, recurring revenues, and just following some business principles that I know to be critically important, which, by the way, same principles that guys like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger have been singing and in their books and whatnot, and in all of their interviews and the advice that they give. It's right there as a foundation. So, Road Dog, that was a little bit of a rabbit hole, bud, but I just, be careful of what you hold to be true. It's like, if you want to close somebody, what do they need to be? They need to be open. My question to you listening to this is, how open are you that you might be wrong? Or how open are you to new influences? And don't be too open, because otherwise you might get to, that influencer on your Facebook feed would grab you too quick. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever, without thinking it through. But that's my answer, Shoots. What do you think?
I think I'm going to have to start opening the podcast with the closing question. This is how it's going to have to go. Listen, the only thing I'm going to say to that is all roads lead to Rome, right? Like, fine, have 10, 20, whatever different offers up front, as long as they all lead to the ultimate end goal of your high-end coaching program. Yep. Because you could do a promo on bundling, you could do a promo on upsells, you could do a promo on whatever, right? Like, you just pick a thing and see what is the most attention grabbing thing, especially if you're in your niche. The one thing I did want to say that really I think is a super powerful concept is by having the Elon model, if you will, of your high end, super expensive coaching program. I think it allows you to think at a much greater level of the services and everything else that you'd like to deliver. Now, I think that just opens up your mind to a deeper level of thinking, right? Like, okay, I got to design a $100,000 program. What does that look like? And it'll put your spin and your flavor into it. Whereas if by just saying, oh, I'm going to do $1,000, you look like everybody else. You're inevitably going to look exactly like everybody else. And then you're not going to stand out. And it's like, you might as well be a realtor, financial advisor, or accountant, because no one can tell. And now you're just in a commodity-driven business. And as you always say, that is a race to zero, right? It's like the agency model now. How many freaking agencies are out there? Like, how can you even tell the difference between them? You can't. You really can't. There's a million agencies, and they all guarantee the same thing, which they can't guarantee, but that's what they all say. So none of them look different from anybody else, and it's a race to zero.
Yeah, I remember when we first started the podcast, and one of the first ones, I remember having that conversation, and it was that that done for you digital marketing is a race to zero. The end. There's always going to be somebody willing to do a little bit cheaper, a little bit cheaper, a little bit cheaper, a little bit cheaper. And by the way, and in some cases they're doing a better job. In a lot of cases they're doing a horrific job and screwing it all up for everybody else. But at the end of the day, done for just here it is in a sentence. Done for you is a race to zero. So careful with that.
There you go. There you go. All right, folks, time to wrap this up. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the man with the greatest flow around, King Karl. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, where there was like some serious hairstyling advice on that pre-show today, or you're just not getting Karl's daily emails or want more information, the group coaching software, or how just to become a better business coach, go to focused.com and subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share with a fellow coach or someone that you think might make a great coach. And of course, as always, we'd appreciate if you'd rate this episode, as we know that all the streaming services give a huge amount of weight towards reviews. So please hit that like button, share, do all that wonderful stuff. And that is it for another week. We will see you in the next episode. And remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.